AM 1460 WXBR, you're listening to the Metro South Morning Show. Peter Czymbor and Mike Pava here with you on this Monday morning. And despite, to the contrary of what was just in Mike Pava's weather update during our news report, if you look outside, folks, the forecast says it's about to be raining men. And that's because joining us right now on the telephone from the Weather Girls is Miss Martha Wash. Martha, good morning. Thank you for spending some time with us here today.
Well, thank you very much, too.
Martha, 30-plus years into your singing career, you're still going strong. You recently released your new album, Something Good. You just must feel fantastic that almost 40 years into this, you're still able to make a living doing what you love, singing.
True, very true. Time goes by very, very fast.
Tell us a little bit about this new album, Something Good. You're one of those singers that everyone knows who you are, what you're up to, but you kind of disappear for a little while. Not that you ever really go away, then you suddenly reemerge again. What sets this new album apart from other work in which you've done?
Well, this music is more adult contemporary, a little bit more alternative. People know me from doing the dance music and all of that, and I thought it was time to do something different. I've always been an artist where I wanted to be known for doing more than just one genre of music.
So tell us exactly what sets us apart outside of just the styles of music and whatnot. What would you equate this to in terms of other contemporary artists that people may be aware of?
Ooh.
Or are you just your own woman, Martha Wash?
I'm really basically my own woman. Really. This album, it was produced by a gentleman by the name of Zach Adams, who's a singer, songwriter, and producer in his own right. And we decided to use him because he had a lot of great songs that he presented to me. And we just decided to kind of go with him. The first single that came off of this album was called I've Got You. And we got quite a bit of good responses from the song and even the video itself. And it's the whole album is more very inspiring and uplifting, and kind of like food for the soul is what I'd equate it to.
Once again, we're chatting with Martha Wash here on AM 1460 WXBR. She has a new album out, Something Good. Martha, how exactly did you break into the music industry? You started out in the late 70s as a backup dancer and ultimately made the transition into the front of the stage as a star in your own right. How did you get involved in the music industry to begin with, and how did you eventually make that transition from backstage to front stage?
I started singing background for a guy by the name of Sylvester in the late 70s, and his producer, Harvey Fuqua, suggested that Izora Armstead and myself record a CD. And so I was basically happy singing background for Sylvester, but we thought, okay, well, let's do this and see what happens. Well, the album came out very well, and we got a lot of good responses from them, and some, like, number one singles off of it. And after that, we started touring and singing and doing our own shows. So we just kind of split from Sylvester after about 4 years or so and started out with 2 Tons of Fun. That's what we were known as.
Was Sylvester a little bit upset that his backup singers were now eclipsing him almost in popularity? Did I touch on a sensitive topic?
Not really. I think it was more so that, well, yeah, I guess you could say. He wasn't upset, but I think it kind of shocked him, maybe, that we had started garnering our own fans and things like that. But we also kept his fans as well, But, it was all cool. It was all cool in the end.
Now, you were initially referred to, you just mentioned the name of the group was 2 Tons of Fun, obviously a play off the fact that you were big, voluptuous woman out there singing. Did you ever feel a little bit awkward about being known as 2 Tons of Fun, basically referencing your size?
Well, it definitely caught people's attention when you heard the name. I think what it was kind of a play on our sizes. And at that time, if you stop and think about it, there were no large women that were out in the forefront singing. There weren't any. I think the closest you had was like Mama Cass. You know?
Yes.
Really. So, look, we were trying to do our thing and be noticed and that kind of thing. And the novel thing about us was we were large, but we could also sing, too.
Oh, no one's going to question that ever. Now, did it almost take away the brunt of any joke that someone may have tried to make at the expense of your size, that they couldn't even make it because, hey, we're 2 tons of fun. We know we're big, we're large and in charge. What are you going to say?
Exactly, yeah. You heard the comments and all that other kind of stuff. But look, I had been used to that for years, so that didn't bother me. I think the thing that had me concerned was the record company and the marketing factor. How are we going to market them? That kind of thing. And I think at that time, they didn't know exactly how to market us because they hadn't dealt with anything like that before. So I think that was basically the main thing.
When you were known as 2 tons of fun and the record label was trying to market you guys towards, whatever audience they may have been trying to market you towards, was there ever anything they did that made you guys feel uncomfortable, almost exploiting you guys to a degree?
I can't say anything negative about that. No. I think it was just trying to find the ability to market us, But anything derogatory or anything like that, no.
Once again, we're chatting with Martha Wash here on AM 1460 WXBR. From 2 tons of fun, you ultimately became known as the Weather Girls, and you had the most gargantuan hit of your career, It's Raining Men. Now, when you guys became the Weather Girls, was that essentially part of the marketing, that your song was about a theoretical weather situation of raining the male species? Did you guys just become known as the Weather Girls based on the strength of that single?
Yes, actually, when Raining Men first came out, there were people that thought that there was a new group out called the Weather Girls. Well, people who knew us as 2 Tons of Fun would say, no, that's not a new group. That's Martha and Izora. That's 2 Tons of Fun. So it kept going back and forth so much that it became really funny for us. And the song became such a great hit in the clubs long before mainstream radio even picked up on it. We just decided to change our name to the Weather Girls, and we moved from the West Coast to the East Coast and signed with a new record label.
Now, obviously, we're based here in Massachusetts on the East Coast. Where in the East Coast were you based?
I'm in New York.
You're in New York now?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nice East Coast girl. You're about 4 hours away from us.
Right.
Now, you touring still these days? You get the new album, Something Good, coming out, or which is already out. Are you guys still touring? You still making shows here and there, Martha Wash?
Yes. We're trying to work as much as possible. And, go out and promote the CD and do shows. I've been in Europe. I was in Europe for about a month. So I'm back now and hopefully getting ready to do some live shows during the summer. And the summertime is always the best time, especially outdoor shows and things like that. So we're looking forward to doing those kinds of shows and live shows back here in New York and anywhere they want us.
It's always interesting, the dynamics of the music scene here in the United States in Europe. You go to Europe, there's a lot more like techno-y dance club feel as opposed to them playing real instruments from time to time. Do you see any differences between the music scene in Europe and here in the United States and how that affects your live performances and your reception in different parts of the world?
Well, it varies. The shows that I was doing when I was in Europe this past few months ago were live shows. I was with a band and all of that, and I love it over there because the appreciation for artists that have been around for a long time is very, very much stronger than I would say possibly in the U.S. You can find artists that you haven't heard from in years or decades who are living in Europe and working in Europe and living a fantastic life, and they've said people don't accept us back in the U.S. You know, they've forgotten about us or whatever. So we've come to Europe, and remember, Europe is much more bigger than the U.S., so they could live and travel and work constantly more than they possibly could in the U.S.
Once again, we're chatting with Martha Wash here on AM 1460 WXBR. Getting back to sort of your history in the music business, when you transitioned from being 2 Tons of Fun to the Weather Girls for your smash hit, It's Raining Men, you did not write that song. That song was actually co-written by Paul Schaefer, who is well known as being the musical director on the David Letterman show nowadays. When you first saw the lyrics for that song, did you start to blush? It's raining men, every specimen, tall, blonde, dark and lean, rough and tough and strong and mean. Was there anything in there that made you blush and go, I got to sing this?
It was just pure laughter. I had not met Paul Schaefer at that time. I was dealing with Paul Jabara.
And he was the co-writer of the song, correct?
Yes. We were at his home in Los Angeles. He had invited us over to his house for lunch. That was the pretext. And then after lunch was over, he played us It's Raining Men. And he said, I want you to record this song for me. And he played it, and we just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I said, you've got to be kidding. He said, no, I'm serious. I need you to record this song. And I'm saying, Paul, nobody is going to buy that song. Are you kidding me? Really? Are you kidding me? He said, I know this song is going to be a hit. He really, really believed in this song. And he eventually wore us down, and we went in the studio about 2 days later and recorded the song in about 90 minutes and then just walked out of the studio and said, okay, Paul, see you later. And that's how we left it. And he was the one who really, really pushed the song in the clubs, asking the DJs to play the song, you know.
When you play that song nowadays, I mean, everybody on earth knows that song.
Mm-hmm.
When you play that song nowadays, who's more likely to respond to that song more passionately? A bunch of horny, middle-aged women coming out of a Chippendales concert or gay men?
It would probably be 50-50.
Probably be 50-50?
It would probably be 50-50, yes.
As a straight male, I was at a casino one time, and there was like a Chippendales-like thing going on at the casino. I think it was called the Thunder from Down Under.
Right,
like an Australian male strip review.
Exactly.
And that show was over, and all of these women dispersed into the casino. It was incredible. They were more than happy that it was raining men in the casino that night. Oh, they were trying to grab us and grope us. It was quite enjoyable, Martha. And you've helped inspire activity like that for over 30 years now, Martha. How do you feel about that?
Hey, who would have thunk? Who would have thunk, okay? Surprise, surprise. I was wrong, and I admit it.
What kind of functions do they ask you to play that song at most? Is it things like that? Is it the gay pride parades? I mean, what's some of the more unique functions you've been asked to perform that song at over the past 30 years?
It does not matter. Everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. I've done it for gay pride. I've done it for bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. I've done it for wedding receptions. All of them. You name it, I've done it.
I would think bachelorette parties would be big.
Let me tell you, I've in fact sang it in front of President Clinton at the White House, okay?
You sang It's Raining Men at the White House?
Yes, I did.
I was running interns at some point during his presidency.
I'm not into that.
That's another topic for another day that we will not explore with Martha Wash. Once again, we're chatting with Martha Wash here on AM 1460 WXBR. She has a new album out called Something Good that we urge you to check out. Martha, outside of It's Raining Men, the other gargantuan hit of your career happened almost a decade later in the 90s, but you weren't exactly credited with the hit at first. You sang the hook and most of CNC Music Factory's Gonna Make You Sweat. We talked a little bit earlier about 2 Tons of Fun and, you know, your size being part of the marketing of the group. CNC Music Factory went a different route when they released Gonna Make You Sweat. They put out a music video, and singing your lyrics to Gonna Make You Sweat was some skinny bitch of a model. How did you feel about that when you first saw it?
I was through, just through. I said, what the hell?
So they went ahead and did that without you even knowing.
Oh, yeah. I never knew about that. I had known David Cole, who was one half of CNC Music Factory. David Cole was our musical director for the Weather Girls for about 4 or 5 years. And I had worked with David in the studio sometimes doing scratch vocals for him for songs that he had written that he was going to be producing other artists, things like that. And I went in and did that for him for Gonna Make You Sweat. And I think I can only speculate. I don't know the full details. But evidently, I guess they decided to put out Gonna Make You Sweat with my vocals on it and all of that. And the song took off. I believe they were making a album at the time. Probably the album was not finished. Gonna Make You Sweat would probably be the first single from it. Well, the song blew up. And I was not going to be a part of CNC Music Factory. But what happens when you have this song, it blows up, you're not quite ready for what's happening already going on out there. So you have to kind of scramble and put things together. And I think what they did was they got Zelma Davis to do the visual and have my vocals. And it went on from there. I think things could have been handled differently, and they weren't. But by that time, the song was a huge hit. So now what do? You know, what I did was talk to my attorney, and I had to go into litigation about it. It took a while, but everything was settled. There was a settlement reached, and we just kind of went on from there.
Now, you mentioned that you had a working relationship with these people before the music video came out. You were beside yourself when you saw the music video premiere on MTV, and you were not a part of it. Not only were you not a part of it, you didn't even know it was happening before it came on television. Were you ever able to reconcile with any of those people after the fact and kind of come to a meeting of the minds and understand where each other was coming from, or has there been very little contact over the years?
No. At that time, after the settlement was reached, I wound up recording with them again and went out on tour with them as a part of the CNC brand that they were doing at the time, because they had different groups, soloists, that kind of thing. So I went out on tour with them.
What was the reaction of the crowd when they saw you up there doing Gonna Make You Sweat? Because I'm sure that the publicity from the litigation had gotten out by that point. It seemed like most people were in support of what you were doing.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, in any kind of business that you're in, do you want someone else to receive the credit that the work that you've done, and somebody else receives the credit for it? And especially in this business, you know, you kind of have to really be careful of that. Anybody can say that they did this or they did that, but when the time comes, you kind of have to prove it. And I was able to prove it. That was my vocal.
Once again, we're chatting with Martha Wash here on AM 1460 WXBR. Martha, 30-plus years, still going strong. You mentioned hoping to do some summer shows earlier on in the interview, and he talks about coming here to the Boston area, where we're located here in the South Shore of WXBR.
I'd love to. Boston has always been good to me.
Any good Boston memories?
Oh, Lord. I'm thinking about that. No, I think it's right off of, I don't want to say Boston Common, but it's a big open air.
The Hat Shell. The Hat Shell, the Esplanade, yes.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I've done a few shows over there over the years, and it's always been great because it's been so many people, and I've watched them as I've done my show, just having a great time.
That's where they do the Pops Goes the Fourth concert every 4th of July for those who are looking for reference.
Right, yeah. No, I've always been very fond of Boston.
Well, we'd love to have you back at some point. We've been chatting with Martha Wash here on AM 1460 WXBR. She has a new album out called Something Good. We urge you to check that out. Martha, one thing that I think is great about you, despite almost being in your 40th year in the music business, you're still very vibrant, youthful, and young at heart, and you're doing a good job of marketing yourself and your new album via the internet and social media. You're very active on Twitter.
I try to be. Do you know what is the funniest thing? I kind of kept myself off of Twitter because I was thinking, why do I really need to be on Twitter? I mean, I had seen things about people saying, I'm going to walk into the kitchen now and make me a sandwich. Really? I don't want to know. I don't want to know about that. But for being in this business and being social and meeting new people and fans and things like that, it's a great tool. I have to say, it is a great tool. I just don't want to hear about you going into the kitchen to make yourself a sandwich.
Well, if you follow back, Martha, I'll try to refrain from tweeting about my visits to the kitchen to make myself sandwiches. Just for you.
Thank you very much.
That's Martha Wash joining us here on AM 1460 WXBR. Martha, before we let you go, where can folks find more information about this new album, Something Good? Where can they follow you on Twitter, and where can they get more information about you potentially touring during the summertime?
They can go to my Facebook page, which is themarthawash.com. They can find the product on Amazon and iTunes. And my Twitter handle is Martha_Wash.
Well, Martha, you have made me sweat. That's Martha Wash joining us here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. We're going to step aside for a quick breather. Mike Pava is going to provide us with a news update from the WXBR newsroom. You're listening to the Metro South Morning Show. Stick with us.